I'm Herman Gales, live from CACC Election 2011, here with William McCarty. How are you today?
I'm doing fine. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Got a couple questions to ask you today.
Okay.
What makes you uniquely qualified to hold office mayor of Springfield?
Well, I think I've got several qualifications that make me uniquely qualified to hold this office. Number one, I've been a mayor before. I was mayor of a small town just north of here in Williamsville.
Right.
I was also on the city council out there, what they call the board of trustees.
Right.
So I've got governmental experience in the municipal environment already. Number two, I've got a pretty good education that goes along and would help me as mayor of Springfield.
Right.
I went to SHG here in town, and I went to Lincoln Land, spent a couple of years there. I have a finance degree from Notre Dame, and I have a master's in public administration from the University of Illinois in Springfield. All of that combined with my skill set that I've earned as a public finance manager, both the municipal and the state level, makes me uniquely qualified to come in and be able to help Springfield in its financial issues that it's seeing right now, right out of the gate, which is exactly what we need right now, because Springfield does have a lot of problems financially.
So basically you're very qualified.
Well, I think so, but that's voters to decide.
I agree. Why did you decide to run for mayor?
I decided to run for mayor because I moved here. Again, I live just north of Springfield, but I grew up here. So I have a special attachment to the town. I moved here about a year and a half or so ago with my family, and I've got two young children and a wonderful wife. And I saw things going on in this town, especially at the governmental level, that I just simply didn't agree with. It was counter to my philosophy that I had as a mayoral person in Williamsville. So I decided that maybe I should get involved in government. I started looking into it. I wasn't terribly serious at first about it because I didn't move here to run for mayor or any other office for that matter. But I started talking to people out on the streets. I started talking to some employees that work for the city of Springfield. I started hearing things that really disturbed me. And ultimately I decided democracy needs to have people in races. People need to have a choice. So I decided I would be one of those choices.
Understood. There has been considerable concern about city finances given the state of the economy. How would you go about balancing the economy?
Well, I'm glad you asked. It's a very good question. I have a 4-point budget stabilization plan, and 4 points of that plan are to do a human resource audit, to do miscellaneous expense investigations, and we're talking like small things that you've heard, cell phones, take-home cars, those sorts of things. Also, contractual, and finally, collaboration. And I'll touch on each one of those briefly for you. Collaboration simply means exactly like it sounds, working with the aldermen, other elected officials, unions, employees, anybody who has an interest in seeing the city improved and has a suggestion on how to do it. I know a lot of Fortune 500 companies have engaged in this practice, especially over the last 3 years with the recession, and they've seen great results with it. Increases in operating margins, increases in productivity. The miscellaneous expenses I just touched on. The contractual, and the reason the contractual is a focus is because if you look at the corporate budget, it's about $105 million, give or take. Of that, nearly 80%, about 78% or so of it is personal services and related, and another 7 or 8% is contractual. So those are the two areas you really need to look at if you're going to make cuts. And you have two choices in dealing with a budget problem. You either enhance revenues, i.e. raise taxes, which I'm not amenable to doing, or you make cuts. So what I've decided to do is to look at contracts and to do the human resource audit. And finally, the HR audit is just simply like it sounds. We'll go through each position and we'll find out whether or not it's necessary. We're going to look at items such as redundancies. We're going to look at span of control, which is just the ratio of subordinates to supervisors. And we're going to be looking at newly created jobs and inordinate salary adjustments over the last, say, 8 years or so. And we're going to make corrections where they need to be had, because ultimately the city workforce needs to be decreased, not increased. Now, having said all of that, we're also going to be looking for attrition and the feasibility of an early retirement program, because ultimately the best way to reduce the workforce is to have people leave on their own rather than do layoffs. I really don't want to do layoffs. I want to do everything I can to avoid that.
Understood. It makes a lot of sense. With the same concern in mind, how would you go about bringing in additional revenue to the city?
Well, again, you have the issue, the best way to bring in additional revenue is through new taxes, and I'm not amenable to increasing taxes at this point in time. So your next best bet is to foster a business climate to where we can where businesses will locate and grow in Springfield. We want to foster that.
Right.
Bringing businesses into the city will bring revenue into the city, so we need to get a lot better at attracting businesses and keeping businesses here. And that's where partnerships with the Chamber of Commerce and their Q5 program, things like that come in. And we also have to streamline our business development processes within the city, because I've heard some issues are there with that. So we need to work with developers to get those processes improved.